but Digital Ed is a software company focused on providing a platform for the delivery of online STEM education, specifically mathematics. And our focus as a company and our goal is optimizing digital learning. So I'm not going to take out too much away from Nick. He'll go over the rest of that, but just as a quick agenda, we are going to spend 10 or so minutes on a discussion where Nick will share a screen and review the how and the why of digital ed. And then if everyone has any more questions at the end, it may probably about 10, 15 minutes. But if anyone has any questions at the end, we'll leave some time to maybe hop on the platform and answer those for you. Or if it's beyond our technical capabilities, I'll put my information in the chat, like I said, and we can answer it offline for you. So happy to have you here. Thank you so much. It's almost Christmas. We're almost there. I'll let Nick take it away from here.
Thanks, Nate. Yeah, I mean, Nate covered a little bit of everything here, so I'm just going to jump right into the presentation. Like Nate said, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat, and Nate, who loves to interrupt me, will interrupt me, I'm sure. Let me just get this screen shared. All right, perfect. So like Nate mentioned, I'm going to be going over a brief presentation to kind of show you the power of our platform, Möbius, and to really show you what's capable with this platform. So as Nate mentioned, our main goal here is optimal digital learning. We want to make sure that students are learning the best way by helping enable professors with the best tools. So a little bit about us as a company. We are headquartered in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. We are a relatively new company, but our product's been around for about 15 plus years. Now we've worked with world-renowned universities like Imperial College in London, University of Waterloo, CUNY, SUNY systems, as well as BYU, and most recently SNHU in the US. And I'm not saying this to brag, it's to show the schools that have put their faith in us that we are the right platform for them and we're help enabling their students to learn. Now, like I mentioned, we've worked with over 300 plus schools, enabling over 300,000 students. And to this date, we've actually automatically graded over 10 million assignments and assessments. One of the biggest questions that seems to be coming up, and now it seems to be coming up more often with the pandemic, is what are the biggest gaps that you're seeing in online education and math? Now, I'm not going to go through it and ask everyone, but if you have any, feel free to throw them in the chat. But I'm going to talk about some of the biggest ones that we're seeing in the industry. One of the biggest ones is that my LMS just struggles to teach STEM effectively, which totally makes sense because LMSs are built for every course. They're built for English, they're built for history, as well as math and engineering. So, in order to have a platform that handles them all, it's not going to be good at one thing. And that's really where bringing in a platform like Möbius really shines, is we are focused on STEM. We are built for STEM. Another gap that comes in that we see is with testing, is that multiple choice is just not as effective in math. Reason being, if the student has a basic understanding, they'll be able to probably cut out 50% of the questions, and then it's a 50-50 toss-up on what the right answer is. But the problem is that we're not seeing true retention and true understanding of certain concepts that professors are trying to get through to students. And that's why we find multiple choice is not the most effective. Another gap that we see is locked-in content. Professors want to bring their courses online, and they may have them online, but there's certain things they don't like, and they want to make changes. They want to, make changes to questions, make changes to content, really make it their own, and they can't do that because they're tied to that textbook or that publisher. And lastly, one of the biggest gaps we're seeing is specifically with math and engineering is that students are struggling with a specific topic. They really can't practice more. They can only practice to what the professor or publisher has provided. If there's 10 questions, they might be really good at 9 of them and they struggle with that 10th concept. There's no way to practice more. And with Möbius, and I'll show you shortly, is we're able to allow them to practice as many times as they want to truly understand and grasp those concepts. And how are we doing this? And that is with our unique STEM capabilities. So our ability to insert interactive exercises like the one you're seeing here. We're able to embed complex visuals, plots, interactive apps, and activities across the entire learning experience to really allow you to teach better and for students to engage more. We find that a lot of online content is very static, and students have a tough time being able to interact and learn. And we want to bring back that learn by playing, learn by doing, and learn by failing, and learn by seeing what you've done wrong, and how do I get better? How do I make sure I understand these concepts? And this is with using many different multimedia, like interactive activities, like videos, like images. The other thing you can see is that our powerful math engine. So I haven't mentioned it yet, but our engine is powered by Maple, which is one of the world-renowned math engines. And with this engine, it allows you to be able to ask inline questions and have correct answers displayed right away with full mathematical equivalency. You can test and assess with these interactive plots as well. So as you can see, not only can the student play around and practice, there's also questions associated with it, right or wrong questions that are automatically graded as well. You can see the power of the instant feedback, like I mentioned. And ultimately what this is doing is like what I mentioned, is anchoring these concepts. Is how do I learn? I don't want to just read, take a test. I want to try it. And we're enabling students to do this. The other key thing we're seeing is our students forgetting content. And at Digital Ed, we look to leverage the cognitive science of learning, is what we like to call it, which is all research backed, on how to help students forget less and learn more, and be able to bring what they've learned to tests and to exams. So what we like to call is the forgetting curve. And what we're seeing and what research has shown is that after 1 hour of remembering content, they only remember 50%. Within 1 day, it's roughly around 60. Within 2 days, they've forgotten 70% of what they learned. And what that means is a student's leaving your class or your lecture and not going to be able to retain all that information. And then in 3 weeks or a month, they're going to be tested on that. So it's very difficult for students to be able to grab all that information and bring that with them. And we're really trying to help them with being able to ask those questions and help them learn right from within, inline, right from their online platform. And what that's helping is anchoring those concepts. Like I mentioned, you're going to hear me say it a lot, but that's really what we're trying to do here. One of the other things I mentioned was, can your LMS ask open-ended questions? The reason I asked that is because with something as complex as math or maybe engineering, professors don't want to just ask a static question, true or false, multiple choice. They want students to actually see if they want to ask students to see if they understand the concept. So the example we have here is provide the equation of a line that passes through X and Y. And can the platform that you're using accept the mathematically correct answer? These are the two big questions here. And the answer is yes. Möbius is math native, like I mentioned. We do have that Maple foundation. And it will understand any mathematically equivalent answer. So as you can see in this quick example, I'm going to let this play out. But the student had given the wrong answer. They could try again and try new question with a different response. As you can see, the student got it correct this time. Now they see the entire breakdown of how they got that right, just to, once again, is anchor that concept. And this is what ultimately we're doing. Students can type in the equation how they see it, not just choosing one of A, B, or C, or D, and then understanding where they went wrong, try again, try again, try again. Because we want our professors to teach them math. We don't want our professors to have to babysit them online and be focused on marking everything and scanning and uploading. We want the professors to be teaching online, and we'll handle the marking, we'll handle the grading and anchoring of the concepts. Now, another thing I mentioned was mathematical equivalency. Here's another graphic you can see is not only does Möbius help with open-ended questions, but open-ended questions and answers to mathematical equivalency. So as you can see, the student is now given 4 different examples of the same correct answer, and Möbius has corrected them every single one correctly because it understands the concept of what the student is trying to tell them. So no longer do you have to teach students, okay, when you want to say X, you need to do an asterisk. When you want to do Y, you need to do this. Make sure there's a space. Make sure there's this. You don't have to teach them a whole concept in a whole new platform. With Möbius, you can just input it how you would input it, how you would write it on pen and paper, and Möbius will understand. Once again, like I mentioned, infinite number of questions and answers. With our algorithm, you can ask questions and you'll get new answers, and they'll be mathematically equivalent answers, and Möbius will understand what the student's trying to do. Authentic assessment is the next one I wanted to talk about. As you can see, there's a brief in this graphic the option of a multiple choice question and then an open-ended question. So the professor is trying to ask the student, do you understand? And then, okay, now apply this concept. So it's not just, do you understand, yes or no? Okay, great, let's move on. It's, do you understand this? They got the question wrong, as you can see. They didn't understand that the line passed through a certain point, but now they're going to ask them to apply it. So once again, it's anchoring that concept. I want to make sure you understand it, because when it comes to a test, it's going to be a different question, and we want to make sure that you understand that concept. Not all questions are created equal. So a lot of this comes down to having a good course built in and good question design. And I think that is really important. It's something that we want to make sure that we're enabling professors to have. Now, like I mentioned, the math engine that powers Möbius is used at the highest level in math research, the Maple engine. It's a symbolic engine that doesn't just compute math. It actually truly understands math. And we'll walk through a couple other examples, but I just want to let you know that the power of this engine is what sets us apart. We're able to embed that power into every aspect of the learning journey. Now, whether it be, maybe it's multiple choice questions that you want to have automatically graded. Maybe it's multiple choice questions you want to have algorithmically created, or you want to go as advanced as open-ended questions, free graphs, basically whatever you want, you have the option of doing with this engine. Whether it be lessons, assessment, homework, practice, or exams, which I do have a ton of schools that use us for their exams. It helps anchor those concepts, and students really like answering questions on Möbius. One of the other things I wanted to mention was what we call is learning methods. And the one that we're seeing most is the mass, basically the mass-produced learning environment, mass practice learning environment. And what that is small spurts of learning, or small spurts of practicing with large spurts of learning. And the reason why that's not as effective is students aren't able to practice while they're learning. So if they sit through a 3-hour lecture, then they're asked to answer some questions. Well, they're not going to remember what happened in the first hour, the first half an hour. And what we're trying to do with Möbius is having those inline questions while they're learning. So they're learning about a concept, they're going to get tested on it. Now, whether that's halfway through the chapter, the end of the chapter, maybe they're going to have an assignment, maybe they're going to have a quiz added onto that. And once again, you're going to get tired of hearing me say this, but it's anchoring those concepts. It's helping them retain the knowledge that they're trying to learn. It's not just allowing them to learn and then, okay, hopefully you remembered some of it. And as we saw with the forgetting curve, is that they're only remembering 50%. So how do we kind of chip away at that, help them practice, help them learn, help them practice, help them learn, and ultimately help them retain and perform the best on exams. Now, I talked a lot about the platform, but one of the big things I want to mention here is that we can get you started right away with our preloaded starter content bundle. We've created a number of content packs that come preloaded with Möbius, what we like to call Mobified questions, built right in. Here's a few of the examples. I'm not going to go through them all, but we have over 24 preloaded content packs available. We have a handful in algebra and calculus, and then we have some in physics and more of the arts, mathematics, business mathematics, and statistics. We have a bunch of new courses. Every 8 to 12 weeks, we have new courses that are available. Now, if there's a course that's not on here, Möbius also offers an entire content course creator right from within the platform. You can get started right away. You can start creating chapters and units and assessment very, very quickly and very, very easily as well, if there's nothing on here. If one of these content packs does apply to you, you can actually have it embedded into your Möbius instance, and it's ready to go from day one. The beautiful thing about this as well is if you like 90% of the course, you want to make a few changes, you can jump right in with our content editor and change questions, add questions, change content, remove content, basically to make this course your own, which is ultimately what we're trying to do here. I will touch on one more thing here, just from a payment model, is you do have the option to have the institution pay or the students pay. So that is one of the questions that comes up very often. I'm going to talk about it here. Our payment model is $30 per student per year. So if a student starts in September, they're going to be covered for Möbius, $30 for the entire year. Where we really see this power coming, because once again, like I mentioned, we're trying to enable students, we're trying to enable professors, is really bringing down the cost to students. I know, with the pandemic, times are tight for a lot of people. We want to make sure that education is not something people are skimping So with Möbius, if you were to use multiple courses within a semester, which we see often, say, for example, the calculus series, a student might take Calc 1, 2, and 3 all within one calendar year, $30 would cover that. So we're really trying to make this make sense for students and make sense for professors. And on top of that is make it easy for professors to get started and students to get started. We do have options for financial aid as well, delayed payments. And if students were to pay themselves, it's as simple as a credit card. Now, there are many sources of content for higher ed. There's publishers, there's OERs. And if you haven't learned it yet, what sets Möbius content apart? It is the background. It is the engine. It's the ability to customize. It's the ability to give your students options, add your spin to it, make it your course. We do have math-specific question types. You can insert advanced diagrams, advanced visuals. We have a formula editor, which allows you to write out complex equations in true math notation instead of some sort of syntax, or just being stuck to true and false because you can't edit it. All our math is rendered in MathML and MathJax. So if you're on a screen reader, you're on an iPad, you're on an iPhone, it will show up correctly. They're not images. This is actually rendered in MathML or MathJax. Here's an example on the screen right now of our interactive narratives, which allow you to embed inline questions within a video style that can have your voiceover on top. You can be explaining a concept, you can be showing it, and then you can pause the video and actually ask questions in line as well. And once that student does that, as you can see in this video, how did I do? Did I get it right? Great, I can continue on. If they got it wrong, they can go back and watch that video again. Very, very innovative stuff, and it's things that professors are really enjoying. Publishers and OERs are two very popular things that we hear here at Möbius and at Digital Ed. And publishers are great. They offer a lot of content that's available to professors. But where we really differ from the publishers is the open aspect of our courses. The ability to edit, the ability to make changes on the fly. You don't have to wait a year. You don't have to wait for a new edition. You can do it on the fly. You're not locked in. You have the ability to change and customize with your platform. Now, OERs are a fantastic alternative to publishers and something we're seeing more and more in the industry. However, with OERs, although they're free, you don't have that support that you would get from someone like, say, a publisher. So it's kind of like that toss and turn between the two. And that's exactly where we positioned ourselves, is between publishers and OERs. We like to call it the best of both worlds. You have the powerful Möbius platform with the open free content that you can edit and make adjustments to on the fly. It's that turnkey content with this amazing platform all baked into one. A quick example of something we actually were doing with the University of Waterloo in their Calculus 1 fall term is, as you can see, the graphic's going to spoiler alert, but they actually implemented Möbius in their Calc 1 fall term. And within that, they saw a decrease of their DFW, so their D grades, F grades, and withdrawal rates. In that course, 37% decrease in failure rates since adopting Möbius. We asked the professors, what changed? We understand you use Möbius, but what ultimately changed? And what they said was that students had a better grasp of the complex mathematical concepts. And the reason why they didn't get frustrated and fail or drop out is because they understood math. And it's something that they didn't have before. Students would just get frustrated and drop out. Students would just get frustrated and fail. But using Möbius enabled them to practice, learn, and ultimately perform better. So that's all I have. Do we have any questions in the chat that I didn't cover, Nate?
So actually, Jason just asked one really quickly. Is there a file upload type of assignment? And if so, is there an easy way to grade a high number of files? i.e. Canvas actually has a speed grader that lets them flip through PDFs and grade them fast. Well, that's the main question. But Jason also had a question about coding Maple language directly, and I did answer that already. But yes, you can, as well as HTML directly and a few other things. But and then I actually have a question from Samantha after. But the current question from Jason is uploading a file type of assignment or grading a high number of files at once as a speed grader almost. Yes,
that's a great question, Jason. And what we have, how we've kind of positioned ourselves is not as a speed grader. The speed grader would be the question or assignment that you would have created within Möbius. So you can actually upload that question or all those questions into Möbius, create that assignment, and it'll be automatically graded for you. So, as much as it's not a reader where it's going to be able to read all those uploaded assignments, once you create it once, whether you create it once with static questions or you create it with algorithmic questions, which means that every single exam that every student does will be different. What we find ultimately is not only does it help with those key concepts, but it also helps reduce cheating because not every test is the same. Our platform will automatically grade all those questions as they're being completed.
And actually, one thing I'll add to that, Nick, for you, Jason, is that if you are, forced to bell curve an entire course, you can apply a numerical upgrade or downgrade for an entire course as well.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So Samantha has a quick question about ability to access this our platform for a short period of a demonstration. Samantha, I can take that offline for you. There is definitely a way, and we can chat about that. And she's in, as she mentioned, she's in statistics, and we do have a statistics content pack that's turnkey, or if you found it was 90% effective and you wanted to edit about 10%, that is totally doable. And actually at CMS, one of the sessions she was in with the prof used Möbius to create a virtual escape room. Yeah, so we know quite well about the virtual escape room. That's actually one of Robin's customers, so maybe I'll have you guys connect after. And she can better explain what that looks like. Robin, if you don't mind throwing your email in the chat there briefly, and you and Samantha could connect about that virtual escape room that University of Waterloo created. And so Jason has one more question. It's sounds like there'd be no LMS integration because this is supposed to be the full system. So that's actually, we actually operate as an LMS plugin. So we connect to your LMS through LTI 1.3 or 1.1 if you're on an older version, but LTI 1.3 is the current edition. We would be an LMS plugin to allow you to send the student through the LMS, and they wouldn't even know they've left. They would actually log into Möbius directly, so they wouldn't be changing screens or changing programs within their perspective. Boyan asked, "Is there a Blackboard connection to Möbius?" Yep, we actually same thing. It would be through an LTI connection. Blackboard's a common connection we make.
One question here: is Möbius designed for both lectures and assessment? It's designed for basically whatever you want it to do. So it can be used both as a complement to your course or a supplement. So we do find a lot of professors, when they first implement Möbius, is they'll start using it to complement Möbius or complement their course or their textbook. But then eventually they want to create a course within Möbius and have everything centralized. So you can use it for basically everything. Like I mentioned, some use it for homework, some use it for exams, and some use it for just standard assessment. Please, sorry about the dog.
You see Alex rocking on behind you, yeah. I don't believe there is an integrated live polling tool, Jason, but I'll write that down. We upgrade our platform and add features every 6 months. That's one of the reasons why we have a cost. We are obviously OER heavy, and we believe in making education more accessible and equitable for students. But we update features every 6 months, and we add features that our professors and our partner schools ask for all the time, and that's an excellent recommendation. So happy to make that recommendation to our product team.
And one thing I wanted to also mention on that, Jason, is if there's a specific tool that you're using that is an online tool. So for example, in the chemistry field, there's a tool called ChemDoodle, which allows you to actually draw out chemical equations. It is an HTML tool, so it can be integrated directly within Möbius, like I showed a little earlier. And you can ask questions off that as well. So if there's a certain tool that that is an online tool that can be, usually it's either an iframe or an HTML, it can be imported within Möbius lessons as well.
Content, can you post a standalone HTML on Möbius? Yeah, let's hop in the platform, Nick, because Jason and Boyan both have some specific questions about creating content or creating questions. And then so Boyan's question specifically is, when you create content, can you post a standalone HTML on Möbius? I believe the answer is yes to that.
Yeah, so you can, like I said, you can embed it anywhere you want. It can be a standalone page. It doesn't have to be within a chapter, within a unit. I know some professors will have it in their header, where it's like, they say it's like a math calculator, for example, HTML. They'll actually put it in the header, and within every single lesson, you can always have access to that HTML asset at the top of the lesson. But like Nate said, I'm going to jump quickly into my my Möbius instance. So as you can see here, I'm going to just be logging into my Möbius instance. So here is the overall student view, both student and instructor. So if I'm an instructor, I'm going to see roles where I'm instructor. But if I'm just a student, I'm going to see my course calendar here at the top, and I'm going to see all the courses that I have access to. So these are all the courses I've taken while I'm in Möbius. For the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to focus on more high level. But if we have any specific questions, just leave them in the chat for Nate, and we can dive deeper.
And,
So,
and before you get going, in Möbius question types, can you jump over to that, the planetary view of the HTML embedded question?
Yeah, for sure.
You want to just check that out quick? Because I think that might be a great example of what Boyan's asking right now.
Actually, okay, yeah, I'll show him that. I was going to say I could also show him the work we did with FET in Boulder, Colorado as well.
Yeah, actually, if you wanted to throw those two in there, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
We're kind of jumping around here, but we'll get everything covered. I promise, everyone.
So here's an example of an HTML5 dropped in. As you can see, this is the unit, and you can basically play around with it just as you would, whether it's on another site, but it can be dropped directly in. Furthermore, you can actually ask questions based off this HTML unit as well. So I'm going to go back to just to show you more of what a course would look like that's created within Möbius. So a little bit more about this page is this is the class page. So what is Möbius would be the class, say Calc 1. Here's the class details. You can see the course calendar again. You can sort it by weekday, month. These are all my units I have available. Anyway, so this would be your course here, your unit. It would tell you your completion, tell you what type of instance it is. So here's a lesson. We have lessons, we have practice, quizzes, even assignments or even exams within here. So if I were to jump in, it gives me a little bit more about this lesson. As you can see, it's going to be very similar to what a chapter in a textbook would look like. So you have your top header, your secondary header, and then your content. We do have a video that's been inserted that's explaining more. You can outline key concepts, key definitions. You can insert images. And like I said, with some of this mathematical content, this isn't an image. I can't pull it out. This is actually fully rendered within the platform for any sort of screen reader. Like, for example, if I were to zoom in on this, you can see it's going to continue to render as it is. It's not going to break. It's not just going to be an image. So that is something that's really important when it comes to accessibility. Furthermore, here's an example of an interactive activity. I'm going to turn off my volume, but basically there is a professor doing a read over. He's explaining the question, explaining what it looks like, and then right here at around 58 seconds, there's going to be a pause. So this was put in by the professor to actually give students A, time to answer the question, and B, time to actually pay attention. And you can insert pause points within here as well. So another example, interactive activity, as you can see. As I play around with this, I'm going to have different things happening. I can reset it. And once again, this can be dropped right in through iframe or HTML. And then on top of that, you can ask questions based off that. Let me go to the next page to show you some of the more advanced features. Here's another example of an interactive activity. Here is a algorithmic question. So for example, what is the correct prime factorization of the integer 450? As you can see, we have 4 options. I'm going to hit 1. The question was 450. Here's the breakdown of how to get to 450. I'm going to try another because I got it wrong. Now the question's 18. I'm going to try it again. Got it wrong, but here's the breakdown of 18. So as you can see, not only is the algorithm creating a new question and new options, it's also going to show me the breakdown of the answer every single time as well. And that's really what separates this platform from a random number generator. It's going to mathematical equivalency. And not only that, it's showing you how to actually get the correct answer. So here's another example of an open-ended question. As you can see, there's no response field. There's no way for me to choose A or B or true and false. I have to actually type this in. So I'm going to type it in as 2/2 and 2/2 because for the sake of this demo. How did I do? Got it wrong. Once again, full breakdown. I'm going to try another. New question, new response, and new breakdown of how I should have properly answered that question. So as you can see, here's the correct answer if I were to type it in directly, but it also gives me the breakdown of the correct prime factorization. We have another example of that here, but I think you get the point. Lastly, in the physics example we have here, we have a few different things going on. So we have the option to have key equation inserted in green. We have the ability to add in images, like I mentioned. Here's an example of a professor who actually took a screenshot of a video that he always showed his students. He wanted them to analyze the video, and he was able to show the projectile motion, the correct spot where he wanted this video to be shown. So he might have the video somewhere else, but he wanted to take a screenshot as well. So being able to insert this on the fly, and I'll show you quickly how to do it as well, and ask questions off of it. But another example of a iframe that's been inserted is this. This is with FET from the University of Boulder, Colorado. As you can see, this is fully interactive. I can play around with it. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, and I can just play around. And once again, like I was mentioning before, anchoring those concepts by practicing, by playing around, and by learning ultimately. And then we have some questions based off that. Is there anything else that popped up, Nate, before I jump into how to create a question?
There's a coding question or a live coding question by Boyan that we're getting answered offline really quick here. But one thing I think would be really cool to check out, Nick, is just in the content repository, just to see how easy it is to kind of create a question or to clone a question from a course you really like and build your own as fast as possible.
Yeah. So this is my my role as instructor. So this is my class. I can edit class info. I can add a child class, and I can edit the class schedule right within here. As you can see, these are all the lessons I have. Now I'm going to go to my content repository and show you all the content that I have associated with this class. Now, as you can see, it's very, very simple, very straightforward. If I want to dive deeper into a class, right here, I'm going to choose math. I can clone this entire math lesson. So I have 4 lessons plus some question types. I can clone directly into my class with the click of a button. If I want to dive a little bit deeper, I can clone just this section of it. Want to dive even deeper, I can clone just one question into my course. And as you can see, for example, the HTML5, I can preview it. It's fully rendered. It shows up here. I can actually play around with the question and grade it and answer it. But if I want, I can clone it directly into my class. So with all our content, you can choose to keep it as is and use it, or you can choose to take things from certain courses and insert them. So you can basically create your own course how you want it. So if you want to take a little bit from Calc 1, a little bit from Calc 2, and then maybe create your own 10 questions, you have the ability to do that. And it's as simple as create new, and we're going to create a new question. So I'm going to hop right into the question creator, and I'm going to create a very basic question, but we're going to call this example 1. And what is the line that passes through X? And I'm going to pull my equation editor because I want it to add an equation, and it's going to be X equals 3X Y. Within a few clicks of a button, I've created a full question. Now I'm going to create a free response area. And then here I have the option of choosing how I want that response to show. So do I want it to be a clickable image, a document upload? I know, Jason, you had mentioned you do have some documents, so you could have that uploaded here. But just for the sake of this, I'm going to go simple, true, and false. And the weighting is going to be 1. And the feedback, remember, week 2, unit 1. I spelled remember wrong. But anyways, as you can see, I have my question done. I can preview it. And very simple, but it's done. So true or false, how did I do? And I got it wrong. So as you can see, it's as easy as that. If I want to get more advanced, I can also create, we'll say, a multiple choice question. They're all weighted 1. Very similar to how you would create probably a question in your LMS. But what I wanted to show you, what really separates us here, is the algorithmic options. So if you know the algorithmic code, you can type it in here. But we often find it easier to use the designer. So we're going to say that, as you can see, it's basically click and drag and drop. If you understand Maple and Maple code, or you have the Maple repository, you have access to that here. But you can also just create a random number between 1 and 100 in steps of 2.5. And I can add that into my question.
Hey, Nick,
so, yep.
Just a quick question from Jason about doing multiple inputs for a formula response. Is it possible to have a variety of inputs for a response?
Yeah, so you can basically just kind of keep, if I understand the question correctly, is have additional questions built within. Is that what he's asking?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah, it is.
So yeah, so from here I can just keep on with this one question and just keep adding onto it, adding equations, adding questions, adding response areas. And
So,
then if I'm sorry,
so multiple maple grid questions, multiple sketching and free plot diagrams, all based on the same question, if you wanted to, really.
yeah, exactly. So if you want to keep everything within this one question, you can, but you can also choose to save and close and just create 10 questions off of separate questions, or you can do it all within one question as well. You have that ability to do that within here.
And I believe you can also do that if you have some of your own. Sorry, not to take the mic off you there, Nick, but if you do have some of your own digital content, such as a YouTube video that you had already created and spent all the time on that you didn't want to just kind of walk away from, you can embed that into the lesson, and then through the question text or through the response areas, add questions from that YouTube video into an inline question in an interactive narrative. So that's one aspect of it.
Yeah, so just on Nate's point, as you can see here, we have a few options to insert image, bring in external content like potentially YouTube, or you can just insert a video if you have the MP4 file right here, and you can bring it right into your question and have things based off that. You can have questions based off certain multimedia. Boyan, you can use raw LaTeX as well to write math. If that's how you want to create the questions, you do have that option as well. And if you do create a question through our formula editor, it will input it in the raw LaTeX as well.
Perfect. Okay, so my email once more, everyone. There again, just Nathan, and happy to continue the conversation. And thank you so much for joining today. It was an excellent conversation, and hopefully, we can have more in the future.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, take care, everyone.